Hello, BookTube. If you've watched my last video, you'll notice I'm wearing the same outfit, and that's because I'm filming these in the same day. I don't wear the same thing every day, just so you know. So today I wanted to talk about my reading challenges and, like the goals I've set for myself for the year, and that kind of thing. Okay, so let's get right into it. First off, I, at the beginning of this year, was reading a lot. I set my reading goal, I think, for like 15 books for the whole year, because I was like, oh, I'll probably read like one book a month. And that's something that I did like while I was at school because I'd get busy with work and things like that. And then I found that I was reading like 8 books a month, and I was like, well, this is not a good goal. So I kept changing it and I kept upping it as I was reading more and more, until it got to 50 books. So my current goal is 50 books, and I think I've read like 36. So I'm like very ahead of schedule, which I guess doesn't happen. But I was like, how can people read that much in a year after watching like people like Rincey Reads and other booktubers? I was like very confused by how they read more than like 20 books in a year, but I get it now, I guess. I guess it's easier than I thought it would be. And I read like small like comic book things too, so like not all of them are 300-page novels or more. So I'm definitely like reading more than I thought I would, which is a good thing. So now my current goal is 50 books. I also am trying to complete the Book Riot reading challenge for the year, or Read Harder challenge, that's what it's called. And so let me show you. So here is my little cheat sheet. My bookstore, Vroman's Bookstore in Pasadena, which is my favorite bookstore of all time. And I'm there at least 3 times a week usually, which is very unhealthy, but I love it there. So I started doing this, and Vroman's made, like, printed out these at the beginning of the year and was like, take a flyer and whatever. So I took one. And this is, I think it's the Read Harder challenge with, like, some adjustments. So it's not exactly the Read Harder challenge that you'll find on their website, but I will link the real one, in the description box below. So I'll just tell you the ones that I've completed so far. Okay, so a true crime book, that was The Devil in the White City. A classic of genre fiction, that was The Illustrated Man by Ray Bradbury. A book told from the point of view of an immigrant, that was Les Lettres Chinoises, which is a French book told in letters, and it's about someone living in Montreal and dealing with being a Chinese immigrant and stuff. Then a book about nature, I read Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman. A comic written or illustrated by a person of color, that's Paper Girls. A children's classic published before 1980, that was Le Petit Prince. Prince? I don't know. My French is lacking, if you can't tell. And I really, really loved The Little Prince. I think it's adorable, and I read it in French. Yeah, I'm trying to read more in French, so if you have any French book recommendations, please tell me in the comments, because I'm trying to find, I'm not great, so like, don't give me like something by like Proust, but like, I'm all about some like easy French novels. A celebrity memoir, I read Born a Crime by Trevor Noah, which I highly recommend. That I read on audiobook, and he narrates the audiobook, and that's like one of my favorite kinds of audiobooks to read, are memoirs narrated by the author. I think it makes it awesome. Even like poetry narrated by the author, I think it just makes it so much better if it has a good narrator, and especially if the narrator is the author, because that's like, the way that they read it is the way that it's meant to be read. You know, it's the tone and stuff is the way they would have written it, kind of. Anyway, a book you can read in one sitting, that was San Francisco Poems by Lawrence Ferlinghetti. I got that when I was in San Francisco at City Lights Bookstore, which was a really, really cool bookstore. Highly recommend that. The first book in a New to You series, that was, I read one of the Black Panther comic books, which was pretty good, but it was hard to kind of start, I guess, because it's been going on for so long and to just like get into. Anyway, a book you've read before, that was Breakfast of Champions by Kurt Vonnegut, which you've heard me talk about if you've seen my Vonnegut collection video. A book in translation, that was The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami. I love Murakami's writing. I think I've talked about him before, but that was a really good book. A book of poetry by a single author, that was Revolutionary Petunias by Alice Walker, I think. Don't quote me on that. And that was really good. She wrote The Color Purple, and this was just like a series of poetry, and it's about like what it's like to be African American, and it was just really profound and well written. Loved it. And very short, easy to read. A brand new, published in 2018 book, that was Ruth Bader Ginsburg in Her Own Words, which is a series of quotes that I've talked about before. Then there's a comic written and drawn by the same person, that's Here, which is a really cool book. I'm gonna show you that, actually. So this is Here. It's a graphic novel. It's really, really beautiful art, but it all takes place in the same living room, but in different periods of time. So you can see there's like years on each like part, and so it's not exactly like it's definitely not chronological, but it's not a linear like story, but you can start to kind of piece together what's happening, and I really loved this one. So definitely recommend that. It's called Here. That's what the spine looks like, and there's the back. But yeah, really pretty. And one of the few hardcover books that I actually like. Or liked reading, I guess. Let's see. Then I have a book set in or about Brazil, Russia, India, China, or South Africa. That was Born a Crime by Trevor Noah, which I just talked about. A one-sitting book, that was French poems. It was a little book of love poems that, I think I already did a one-sitting book. Well, I read 2 one-sitting books, but it was love poems, and they have the French and the English translation. So it was kind of cool to read it in both, but some of them were like very sexual. Like it was a lot. And then a comic that isn't published by Marvel, DC, or Image. So that's Styx Angelica, a folk hero, which I've talked about before. So yeah, that's my read harder challenge. That's where I'm at. I still have quite a few tasks to do, and I think I did kind of the easy ones. Now I have to do the harder ones, but I'll link it so you can see all of the tasks and see if you've done any or if you want to be a part of it. Let me know if you're doing the read harder challenge and if you have any like recommendations for me. But yeah, I don't try to give myself too many goals or anything like that. I don't do TBRs, if you can tell, because after I finish a book, I just want to read what I'm feeling like reading. I never try to force myself to read anything unless it's for like a class or like summer reading or something like that. But yeah, so that's my reading goals for 2018.